Hey guys, what's going on? It's Gunnar, welcome back. Today I want to talk a little bit about some spring scouting things we can dive into here. You know, it's March 8th, we're into the prime of the habitat season, but there's a lot of scouting that we can still do this time of year. You know, one of the things I really like to do this time of year, outside of shed hunting and habitat work, is just plain out scouting. I like to scout bedding areas, funnels, transition areas, food sources. All of this plays such a key role in understanding how deer utilize a property and how you can pattern these deer and understand how they move on your land. So over the last few days, that's something I've really been diving into hard. Is I've been doing a lot of scouting. I've been trying to figure out different things about these properties and the deer and how they use them. And at the end of the day, to become a good hunter, you really have to just learn deer. You have to understand deer, you have to understand how they use said features on what property, during what wind, what food sources they're attracted to, how that impacts where they bed, how they move. All of these things are super important to understand, and it just takes time and it takes experience. And pairing knowledge with sign and experience will give you a huge step forward in understanding how you can hunt deer successfully on your own land. So basically, one of the things that I'm really looking for this time of year is I'm understanding where bucks are bedding versus where does are bedding. I'm understanding how deer use travel corridors, fence breaks, funnels, pinch points, how deer are using these neck downs and timber to move throughout different properties and different areas of the properties. What food sources are attractive during what times of the year. This is a really important time to understand that when you get these brand new chewed up trails that are being utilized right now. It'll help you understand what deer are craving this time of the year, how they're using certain food sources to put back into their nutrition at this time of the year after the winter months. Those bucks are, shedding out as we speak, and they're trying to put those nutrients back into their body to fill out those reserves that they lost during the rut last year. Guys, what's going on? It's Gunnar. A lot of you have been reaching out saying you need more help. Well, I want to mention my habitat company, Hanson Habitat. If you want to take whitetails and wildlife to the next level on your own property, installing food plots, timber management, edge feathering, native habitat, fruit tree planting, whatever you need, bedding cover. I'm working with a team of the best land managers in the state of Wisconsin, and we'll do whatever you need to take your property to the next level. Shoot me a text message, 608-632-7233. We'll get you on the list. I'll help you with whatever you need. I got your back for life. Let's get back to the video. So over the last few days, I've picked up a bunch of little nuggets that are gonna help me in the future understand specific deer and at the same time just deer in general on the properties. So just yesterday, I found an area where there was a good strand 5-wire fence, line fence running through the timber, but there was a spot that had been broken. Exactly where it was broken, you could see a heavy dirt trail running right through there where deer were taking the easier route to cut across this funnel and use that pinch point where it's easy to cross. Now those are things that can be man-made, but at the same time, look for those things because that necks deer down. That's one of the big things that I look for is any place you have multiple trails crossing or a neck down or a funnel where these deer are forced to come through. That's why I talk about edge feathering and how big of a benefit edge feathering can be is you can narrow and funnel deer down into where you want them to come out into said food plot, and you can utilize this in different areas on staging areas where you've got a stand location. You can manipulate habitat to funnel deer past you, but that's no different than with a man-made 5-wire fence or a natural fence line that connects 2 big blocks of timber and it necks down to maybe 50, 60 yards wide, but that's the only form of cover versus just going across a wide open field. That's gonna push deer through there. It's gonna neck them down and essentially get you closer and narrow down the distance that you can be away from these deer when they come through here. So that's a huge thing. Understanding where these neck downs, these pinch points, these funnels are is gonna help you understand where you can get close, how you can guarantee that you got a pretty good shot at a deer coming through if they do come through that pinch or that funnel or that neck down. Now, being a bow hunter at heart, that's what we're trying to accomplish here is getting close to deer, you know, within that 33, 34, 35 yard range. Now it's different for everybody. I don't recommend everybody shoot that far because that takes a lot of practice. What I'm talking about is, as bow hunters, we're trying to get these deer close. So these pinch points, these neck downs, edge feathering, funnels, these are super important to get deer close. So you have to be almost a better scouter than you are a hunter at the same time. Getting close to deer is just as hard as killing deer. But when you get close, you have to kill deer. I almost think that getting the opportunity at a big buck, more things have to go right to get that opportunity than have to go right to actually harvest that deer. Now, it's all one big task, you know, getting in within range, getting a shot at that deer, not alerting that deer before you get a shot opportunity, but at the same time, killing that deer at the end of the day. But getting to that point without him knowing you're there, without him being alerted that you're there as he's approaching, can, I think, a lot of times be harder than actually killing that deer. So yeah, spring scouting, understanding how deer use funnels, pinch points, neck downs on the properties that you hunt is going to be a huge benefit for you next fall, because now we don't have to go into these areas during the fall time and all of a sudden see a trail where this fence is broken and we had no idea. Maybe we've got to stand 50 yards away, but they're crossing 50 yards away. You can't get a shot. Now you got to move this stand in season to get to that pinch point where they're funneling through this, say, broken fence. It's better to understand this during the springtime, know where they're crossing, move that stand prior to season. Now we're set up for success when fall comes around. So the scouting during this time of the year is invaluable. You have to be doing it. But I like pairing scouting with shed hunting at the same time, adding a little bit of excitement factor into that. You got the chance and the potential to find a big antler or a specific target buck that you're maybe after while you're doing this scouting. It's going to help you out a ton. I'm kind of a freak when it comes to this. I enjoy scouting. You know, I could do this every single day of my life if I wanted to, but learning deer never gets old to me. Understanding deer, it's a never-ending process. You know, you're always learning. I think when it comes to deer hunting, once you stop learning and growing and evolving as a hunter, your success level starts to drop dramatically. You know, you're never at that pinnacle. You can get to that pinnacle, but if you stop working at it, you stop trying to figure out more, you're gonna start losing your success, and it happens pretty quick. But I wanna show you guys here, this is a horn I picked up off the buck that I wounded this year, you know. This is split G2, but I picked up this horn a few days ago. But basically what I wanna talk about is when you're picking up antlers in the springtime, I see a lot of guys get real excited about picking up big horns, which is cool and all, but you have to learn something from it. It doesn't do you any good to find these horns if they're not teaching you anything, if you're not taking into account why that horn may be there, what it can teach you for the falls to come, and how that deer behaves. Now, every time I pick up a horn, I'm asking why. I'm trying to understand how I can learn this deer more from this horn. Is it on the edge of a bean field, a corn field? Is it in your food plots? Do you have a picture of this deer just before he lost it? Where was he coming from? What bedding area was he coming from? What was the wind in that area? Say you got a picture of him with both sides on a Tuesday night. Wednesday morning he comes through again, he's got both sides gone. What was the wind? Understand where he was bedding during that time. Why he was moving to this food source versus that one. And understanding how these deer move and utilize these areas are super important. When I'm hunting a specific buck, every little drip of knowledge and sign helps me. Now, I picked up this antler and automatically I went, okay, how is this gonna help me kill this deer? So I'm putting together these pieces of the puzzle, because these are, at the end of the day, just puzzle pieces. You know, and if you can't put together the pieces of the puzzle, you can find all the sign you want. But if you can't put everything together to go and kill a deer, it's useless. You need to understand how you can apply different types of sign in information through cell cams or cameras in general, through scrapes, through sheds, through rubs, bedding areas. If you can't put all of that together, just regular sightings in general, if you can't put all of this stuff together to go ahead and formulate a plan to go in and harvest this deer, all of it's for naught. As soon as I picked up this shed, I went, okay, where is he bedding? So I went into an area that I thought he was probably bedding when he came through this area. And what I found was a fairly small diameter tree, but it was shredded. And I had a blowdown right next to it. So he's got side cover, and I've got the sign backing up that there is a buck bedding there, and I had fresh white belly hair in a big flat oval right next to that. So basically what I'm looking for when I'm trying to confirm a buck bedding area is I'm looking for sign. I'm looking for maybe a scrape, a rub. So in this specific buck bedding area, what we have is a big overgrown canopy forest, and we've got a few blowdowns here and there that create side cover that that deer is looking for. And he's got good thermal wind coming up this valley. He's farther away from the food source than the does, so he's got that depth of cover aspect. He's got steep topography on all sides, and he's got thermal winds pushing up that valley and also coming down that valley in the evening. So this is a foolproof bedding area, and I've seen a lot of things where bucks continue to bed in an area that they are consistently busting out of. You know, a lot of people think don't go blow out a bedding area because he's never going to be back there. But at the same time, you have to think of what a buck is thinking when he's bedding in a specific spot and he detects danger. That bedding area worked. That worked. I didn't get killed. Deer are trying to survive. They're not trying to never be seen. What they want is in a bedding area, they want somewhere they can detect danger before it gets to them. So if you're going into a spot and you ended up blowing up a buck or a doe group that then therefore blows out a buck down farther, that's fine. I'm not afraid of that. What I want to understand is how I can hunt those deer in there without blowing them out. Because if you can get in there undetected, you're relying on natural movement to then therefore harvest that deer when he comes by you. But there's a lot of things that go into hunting bedding areas, and I really enjoy trying to figure these deer out, why they specifically bed in an area versus another on a specific wind, in a valley versus on a ridge top, next to a down log versus in thick briar brush. Whatever the case may be, I love understanding why bucks do what they do because it's just interesting to me. Now, I want to show you another horn that I picked up. This at the same time is I'm asking myself the question, why was this here? Now, this was on the edge of a cornfield, just outside a staging area, but it was on edge. You know, I've talked about deer being edge creatures, staying along edges, feeding along edges. That's why fence lines are such a huge attraction to wildlife and deer in general, because they're following the contour of that cover. They love having an open field or a brushy pasture and a hardwood fence line or a hardwood block of timber right on that converging line of that and following that. Or maybe a cornfield on the edge of a hardwoods transition. Maybe you got briars along that edge, and they love following those and using those as contours. But that's exactly where this was. It was right on the contour of an ag field going to a hardwood staging area with a lot of underbrush. So understanding why deer are doing what they do, what you can learn from picking up these antlers. You know, it's fun at the end of the day, but you have to learn something from it. If you don't learn anything from it, it's useless. And at the same time, if you don't learn anything from it, but if you don't write things down that you are learning, you'll forget it. So getting things down on a notepad or even in your OnX on your phone, marking these spots, writing out why you marked the spots, what you want there, a stand location, maybe a mock scrape, maybe a cell cam, a trail camera, whatever that may be, recording all of this stuff, because at the end of the day, you know, it's a fair amount of time until hunting season rolls back around, but we don't want to forget any of this knowledge that we just picked up while shed hunting and while scouting this spring. But I attribute a lot of my personal success hunting, being able to get on big deer, harvest big deer, and grow big deer, is my knowledge for scouting. You know, I started scouting unaware of what I was doing, really. I started scouting at 6, 7 years old. I was walking through the woods, following deer trails, looking at scrapes and rubs and thinking, wow, what is that? And I was getting the knowledge from the other men in my life who knew more than me at that age. You know, my father, my brothers. I was learning all the way from 6 years old, and I'm still learning today. So I attribute a lot of my personal success to my mentors, but at the same time, just putting in the work of learning deer, learning how they utilize different properties and understanding them. So if there's one thing that gets through to you guys today is go out and shed hunt, have fun, but at the same time, learn something from picking up these antlers. You know, I think it's a lot cooler to pick up a rack while it's still on the head of a deer that you just harvested versus picking one up that is no longer on that deer. So that's one of the main things that I want to get through to you guys here today is spring scouting, you know, using topography, understanding how deer funnel through areas, pinch points, neck downs, big timber, neck down to another big timber. You know, understand how these deer pinch down, a fence break, edge feathering, how they're utilizing a food plot or a specific cornfield or a bean field. And another thing is understanding the attraction level of different food sources. You know, a lot of places in the Midwest here, a lot of these ag fields are doing crop rotations, corn to beans, corn to beans. How is the wildlife and how are the deer reacting when you go from a corn year to a bean year? You know, what's the change? Is there a change in some of these specific bucks' habits? You know, are they more prevalent on a corn year versus a bean year? Or is it the opposite? So all of these things are ever changing. You need to understand the different aspects of food, wind, pressure, and timing, and roll all of this information together on a specific year and then make a game plan. Find a way to go in and kill that specific deer. I love hunting specific deer. At the same time, I'm not immune to killing a big cruiser that I've never seen before, because I have done that too. And now what I'm talking about with early March here is basically get out there, scout your property, understand how the deer were utilizing your property all year long, all winter long. Why were they doing specific things? Find those bedding areas this time of year. I like to creep into bedding areas and see if I can spot deer, because that tells me exactly where those doe family groups are. And if I can spot a shedded buck, that is another big plus, because now I understand he feels secure using that area and he'll do it again. So I like to sneak in the bedding areas. I like to find those doe family groups. I'll sneak in there, and as soon as they stand up, I'll say, okay, here's where the does are. Bucks are just a little bit farther. You know, what's that next line of good side cover and good topography cover and safety? Because that's where the bucks are going to be. So all of these things are super important. Pay attention to them when you're out shed hunting, scouting, and I guarantee you it'll help you in the years to come hunting your property. Guys, it's Gunnar. Look, a lot of you guys have been talking to me, telling me how you need help. Well, I want to talk to you today about Whitetail coaching. One-on-one virtual coaching with me. We'll go in depth on whatever problems, whatever help you need. We'll find the solution you're looking for. Shoot me a text, 608-632-7233. 608-632-7233. I got your back for life.